This is your World War III breaking news update. Guys, please click subscribe, turn on those notifications, and like the video if you enjoy it. We don't just bring you the news, we constellate the future. If you want to stay ahead of the information curve, to get in before the panic starts, you've come to the right place. As we talked about yesterday, Donald Trump has now confirmed the forward deployment of 30 Stratotanker aerial refueling aircraft inside Europe, in addition to the ones, of course, that were already in Europe, in the Mediterranean and Middle Eastern countries that might be party to the upcoming massive conflict. We are talking about a sortie, potentially, that is going to see hundreds, if not over 1,000 warplanes. Because understand, each one of these aerial refueling tankers, they can refuel about 20 fighter jets. Fighter jets only have so much ordnance on them. Now, Israel also has a free passage through Syria that they never had before. They now have the cover of Syrian air defense, and of course there are parts of Iraq that they can go through in order to get to Iran as well. Iran has yet to do anything that is strategically unorthodox. However, they have said today that they're preparing the largest and most ferocious missile attack in Israeli territory history. Okay? So they are expecting that to happen any time now. The fog of war is incredibly thick. We're seeing conflicting reports of the formidability of the Iranian air defense at this point in time. We're seeing a lot of Israeli spy plane footage of them targeting military assets, but what later turn out to be either decoys or defunct equipment that has been sitting there for years. For example, today, the Israelis released some footage of them targeting F-14 Tomcats. Well, it turns out that those are basically just the frames that have been sitting there for many, many years, as was proven by satellite imagery. So we don't really truly know the extent of aviational dominance and air superiority that the Israelis currently have. Apparently, the Iranians have just repelled an attack on the Bashar nuclear plant. Okay, so this is serious. They're already flagrantly targeting nuclear sites, which is an egregious violation of the Geneva Convention if there ever was one. If there ever was a successful attack on a nuclear facility inside Ukraine or Russia, that would be major cause for global alarm. But we just accept it that it's okay. Now, I'm not here to commiserate about the ethics of it all. We understand that the world is run by rapacious, psychopathic gangsters, and what's going to be is going to be. However, that is something, to keep in mind constantly, is that eventually, that type of malevolence will be turned on all of us. When there's no exterior threat, they're going to turn it on the endogenous threats right here at home, which of course is your freedom and sovereignty. Pardon the political rant. Now, it's important to note that Israel still has escalation dominance because the Iranians have not spilled the beans on the potential nuclear weapons that they might have. The Iranian parliament is saying that they're going to vote as to whether or not to leave the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which is a tacit admission that you are going to pursue or already have nuclear weapons. What Iran needs to do right now is they need to establish some sort of deterrence because they failed to do so on every front. Israel is hitting them with impunity without fear of any recourse whatsoever. So Iran needs to either close the Strait of Hormuz. I don't like watching the Harlem Globetrotters kick the shit out of the Washington Generals. If this is going to be a fight, let's see a fight. Iran can do things right now to turn the tables, but they're things that require drastic moves, and they're things that are likely going to be a gamble. So they could target the Dimona nuclear power plant in response. Of course, that could beget the Samson option sooner than later. But if Iran already has nuclear weapons, they could do a demonstrative nuclear strike. They could do a nuclear test. They have friends in the world that they could solicit for help for their nuclear program. For whatever reason, they're holding out hope, despite the fact that Donald Trump has lied all throughout this process. And now he is staging 30 Stratotankers, which is going to likely facilitate one of the biggest attacks, aerial attacks, of our generation. Okay? And to make matters worse, they've canceled talks with the Russians. The U.S. has canceled talks with Russia. A planned meeting between the two countries aimed at reducing tensions in their relations was called off at the initiative of the American side, according to the Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Maria Zakharova. So this is bad. Bad news, because all of these things are connected. Remember the pager-style attack on steroids that I warned Morandi about when I interviewed him a couple weeks before it happened? I said, are you at all concerned that they're going to do a pager attack on steroids? Benjamin Netanyahu used those exact same terms today. Can you believe it? Are they watching my channel? I don't know. I hope not. I'm trying to fly just enough under the radar so we can keep this going until the boots come and kick in everybody's door, right? Because that's what's going to happen when martial law is discovered. Now, F-35's shot down. Tasnim News in Iran is claiming that the fourth F-35 has been shot down above Tabriz in western Tehran. Now, you can believe that if you want. That was republished on Russia Today, which is increasingly becoming a more reputable news agency as far as mainstream state-funded news agencies are concerned. It is more or less, they're not going to do something that's going to totally nuke their credibility, even though there might be some propaganda bent to it. There's probably some truth in here somewhere, because I can't for the life of me understand how the Israelis, and which are effectively a proxy of the Americans, are operating with impunity in the Iranian airspace. It just doesn't make no sense. They're even showing the spy plane imagery, and apparently the spy planes are being shot down. But what the Iranians are saying is that the majority of these attacks, 80%, are coming from acts of sabotage, utilizing FPV drones, shoulder-launched rockets, and, pre-positioned bombs inside buildings, like we've seen at that news station today when they were doing a live broadcast in Iran. I believe as the woman, the newscaster, was talking about, come and hit us as hard as you can, that's when they blew it up. I'm pretty sure that wasn't an airstrike, although the Israelis are claiming it's an airstrike. But we're seeing a lot of fakes as well. The Israelis are hitting a lot of decoys and then claiming that they're actual aircraft and rocket launchers. But the Iranians, it's a massive country, man. And if you thought the Yemen was big, then, Iran is just, incredibly more vast in its landscape. So we are seeing now level 4 travel advisories for Israel by the U.S. State Department. That used to be a level 3, I believe. So people are going to start vacating Israel very, very soon in anticipation of what might be the mother of all missile salvos fired in their direction very soon. Even the Russians are evacuating. RT Rupley says that they've evacuated their headquarters in Tehran as requested by the Iranian authorities. The authorities told Rupley that Israel may strike their offices. Now, I can't see this happening, even though there are some hardline Zionist war hawks in Israel that want to go at Russia as well. I just can't see them overstepping that line, because the Russian-Israeli relationship is kind of Switzerland. Even though they condemn the attacks on Iran, they're trying to play it cool because there's so many dual citizens from Russia inside Israel. But as I indicated, Trump is confirming this massive buildup of refueling tankers. And of course, that's for one reason and one reason only, because they're going to war. Okay, this is a fait accompli. Once you go and attack the upper echelons of a country's military and attempt to do a decapitation strike, that's not something that you can do takesy-backsies. Okay, this is going one way and it's forward. NATO has no reverse gear. China continues their shadow flights utilizing cargo flux airlines or aircraft from Shanghai, reportedly going to Luxembourg, but then they go into Iran and never come out off the radar. This has happened on multiple occasions. We also have several other Russian evacuees from Iran, totaling 325 people evacuated from Iran due to escalation there. So everybody is getting their countrymen out. It's very difficult to decipher exactly what or when it's going to happen in terms of whether or not Iran can turn this thing around. Because unless they're willing to go the distance, and this is the problem with theocratic regimes, it's one of the reasons why they're indomitable, but it's also one of the reasons why they can seldom win and outright win conflicts, is because they're not afraid of death, okay? And as such, they don't play to win necessarily. You need a certain level of paranoia in order to be Machiavellian enough to want to see these wars through to completion and come out the victor. And that's something that the West has an advantage in. And this is part of the reason why Israel is going to flaunt their escalation dominance until Iran does something that is different. They can't just grind this out. They can't just sit there and be sitting ducks, or else this thing is going to be game over. Now, the markets are responding in weird ways today. Oil was up at one point. It's oscillated 10%. The range is around 10% today. I think the high was 78 or 79. Now it was down to 70, and then it went back up to kind of like a 74. I'm not sure where it is right now. And it's because people genuinely believe that either there's not going to be a war, or if there's going to be a war, it's going to be over quickly. And Iran is not going to close the straits and start firing missiles in every direction at all of the complicit nations in the region, which is their deterrent. That is their deterrent. That's all they would really have to do, is start lighting up a lot of these defenseless countries with their Shahed drones, blowing the shit out of all these refineries, closing the Strait of Hormuz, and saying, okay, if you want us to keep this up, then keep attacking us. That would crash the global economy. And this is something people need to keep in mind, because I think people are banking on OPEC coming to the rescue, opening the spigots, possibly the strategic oil reserve kicking in a little bit for a little while. But if we're talking about a total closure on the Strait of Hormuz, and above and beyond that, the destruction of numerous oil refineries in the region, that is going to make way for more inflation, which is going to cause more economic strife and instability in the West. We've already been under the weight of these immiserating circumstances as a knock-on effect of COVID and everything thereafter. If you tack on to that $300 barrel oil, everything correspondingly goes up in price, including products that are coming from China. And China is not going to be very happy about this, which is why I expect the trade deal that is supposed to be finalized soon, that they've provided reprieve for 90 days, I believe it extends until August, likely will not be resolved, because they're attacking the Middle East. You need to understand this, and here's how you decipher this. It's a big game of risk, okay? And the goal right now, without engaging superpowers like China and Russia directly, even though they are addressing Russia directly, is to try to capture as much territory as you possibly can, okay? And interestingly, even if Iran is able to get out of the nuclear proliferation treaty and demonstrate that they have a formidable nuclear technology, will that stop the West? I don't think so. I really don't think so, because did it stop them with Russia? No, it hasn't. They've canceled talks with Russia. I mean, you would think, right, that at this period of time, that this would be the time to have talks with Russia. Instead, they cancel the talks with Russia, which shows you that they're willing to fight these wars on multiple fronts, which means they have tricks up their sleeve. There's a lot of channels who have this perseverant tendency to overestimate the adversarial capabilities, and they're all relying on this argument of attritional warfare. Well, the West doesn't have the capability to manufacture stuff. Look, this whole Keynesian military thing where we need the war machine to fuel the economy, you don't think that when that turns on, that when that becomes our primary focus after some false flag attack, that we're not going to be able to build enough weapons to compete with the East? When they decide to turn it on, we will. So this is why here, as a prudent actuarial scientist, prepper, who does this risk assessment, the only reason why I talk about this stuff, because I want to know when the shit's going to hit the fan, we understand that there are a lot of unorthodox tricks up their sleeve, and they've demonstrated that. Okay, we're talking about a combination of cyber attacks, a combination of hybrid warfare, on the ground attacks, partisan warfare. Okay, lots of duplicity and skullduggery is afoot. And it is that level of subterfuge that unfortunately the East, for them, have not been able to respond in kind with. And this is why right now it appears as though this is Iran's fight to win, or the West's fight to lose, as the saying goes. Because Iran is definitely on the back foot, especially if they start to do and muster all of this aviational potential, and they bring it to bear in Iran. Iran is going to have to flip the table somehow. They're going to have to do something. But the problem is right now they're waiting. Waiting for what? You know it's inevitable. You know the West demands are implacable. So why not just go on the initiative now and do something while you still can? Because we've seen what happened with Hezbollah. And all of these influencer talking heads, and the reason why I keep bringing this up is because they all run the same script. You know, they commiserate about how bad things are, and I agree, the Gaza war is bad, genocide is bad, starving hundreds of thousands of people to death while they, clamor for food is very bad. But at the end of the day, you can't try to view this through the prism of morality and ethics and always overstate the gains of the adversary. And this is what a lot of these channels do. I'm not going to name names, but you probably know who they are if you're in this space. They always overstate the potential of our adversaries. And even to this day, there's people saying, oh yeah, Hezbollah is playing 4D chess. What? I'm not laughing because I want these outcomes, okay? We all want fair and just outcomes in this world. And I hold no xenophobic angst towards Middle Eastern countries because, quite frankly, Iran has never attacked us, regardless of what the propaganda says. They've never attacked us. And quite frankly, I would probably want a nuclear weapon if I was them too, in the same way that I want my guns, okay? In the same way that you people in the United States love the Second Amendment because you're scared of your own government. Why would the Iranians trust your government if you don't trust your government? Think about it. Anyways, pardon the rant. Back to the news. I just think they're, I'm not sure what the type of thinking, they're heuristic in their thinking. They can't think outside the box. Like, they can't do a meta-analysis of the situation and understand that the West at this time, they understand what their limitations are in terms of competing in an industrial capacity. So this is why they're using all of these Machiavellian type methods in order to try to level the playing field. And of course they have nuclear weapons at the end of the day. Guys, big shit's about to go down. The price of the shit's gonna skyrocket. So you need to stock up while the getting is good. If you think the prices of stuff are gonna go down in this current climate, I mean, the market went up today. My God. It's incredible. It's truly incredible. The inanity of it all. According to IRGC advisor, Brigadier General Ahmad Vahidi, Iran is fully prepared for a full-scale, prolonged war with Israel. Are they prepared for a full-scale war with the United States, which is effectively synonymous with Israel? I don't know. I presume so, because all of these countries, whether they be Russia or China, who are fighting off American proxies, they never look at the puppet. They're always looking at the puppet master. This is why these negotiations between Russia and Ukraine are just foolish, because the Russians don't respect the Ukrainians. They know they're a proxy. Iran will soon unveil new advanced weapons, they claim, including a new generation of missiles. Vahidi dismissed claims of depleted missile reserves and warned Iran has many options to escalate. Iran has already launched retaliatory missile strikes following Israel's attacks on Tehran and nuclear sites. Ayatollah Khamenei declared Israel made a grave mistake, vowing it will lead to a regime's downfall, with national unity being behind a strong response. There are currently people protesting in the streets of Tehran in support of the regime, not against the regime, despite the fact that there is demonstrations of dissidents burning the Ayatollah's likeness in effigy, things of that nature. But a lot of these things are done with a mask on and in discrete locations, so not to draw attention to themselves, because it's an unpopular thing at this point in time. And the Iranians have a 6 million strong paramilitary police force, which is for this specific purpose. The Iranians have a population of around 90 million. A 6 million strong force is more than enough to keep the population on lockdown, which is not to say the whole thing can't descend into civil war, which is very much what Netanyahu wants, because those are power vacuums that they think that they can fill when the time comes. Allegedly, Iran has been doing some trickery of its own when it comes to Israeli air defense. Iran used electronic jamming to disrupt Israel's missile defense guidance system. This caused the Iron Dome interceptors to misfire and hit itself. And there's video footage of this, of the missile defense system coming back and hitting itself. Iron Dome's effectiveness dropped to 10 to 15%. I mean, the Iron Dome is not even relevant here because they're firing these ballistic missiles. So people need to forget about the Iron Dome. I'm sure it plays a role in taking out the Shahed drones, but not the big stuff. That is the Arrow, the David Sling, and the THAAD systems. The attack combines drone swarms, decoy missiles, and hypersonic weapons. Okay. Now, according to the Israelis, their point of view is the following. 50 Israeli fighter jets, including F-35's, struck nuclear targets in Tehran. 50 in a major overnight raid. Flying throughout Iran without recourse, they claim. Israel hit 50 strategic sites in Iran, including the defense ministry and nuclear infrastructure. Operation Rising Lion has so far struck 170 targets and 720 military assets across Iran. Iran retaliated with missiles and drones, yada, yada, yada. We all know how that story ends. Let me just see if there's any more news, because if I don't make these videos and release them right away, then shit happens. Missiles and drones launched at Tel Aviv and Haifa. Iran has started to attack. Okay, so the big attack is currently inbound. So by the time this video hits you, I don't know if this is going to be the big one. The missile attacks have actually been getting progressively smaller, but progressively more precise at the same time. That's because Iran is using its more advanced weapon systems. But by the time this video comes across, don't be surprised if there's some big booms in Tel Aviv and Haifa and the other major urban centers in Israel. I don't know what else there is to say today, folks. We're going to be talking with Brian Berletic, who, of course, very presciently predicted all of this as he referenced the Path to Persia Brookings Institute paper, which outlined in plain detail exactly what was about to unfold. And, of course, yours truly has been talking about the percolating Iran war for well over 18 months. And I said that it was going to start before the end of Biden's term. I was wrong in that respect. But something else that's worthy of note, this Israeli operation, not only the pager attack, but the operation in Iran, they're claiming that it took over a year to prepare. So what does that tell you about continuity of government? Okay, in terms of foreign policy, government is continuous for the most part. In terms of domestic policy, there's some leeway for politicians to appease their population. They know at the end of the day, that's what most people care about. They don't care about foreign policy in World War III unless it's politically instrumental for them to start chanting things like, I'm the anti-World War III president, when here we are nearly finding ourselves knee-deep in 4 wars, right? Because we have Russia still escalating, Pakistan, India, we still have Iran, which has gone full-blown now, and China, which is just biding its time and waiting till the U.S. fully commits. But I'm telling you guys, it's going to hit home soon. We just think that we can sit here and do what we're doing without any sort of reprisal. But I suspect that there is going to be a cyber attack very soon. I've been saying that. I'm saying it every video so that when it does happen, I don't want it to happen, but it's going to happen because it's likely the 0 day that is where there's the most plausible deniability. So a country can execute it and it could hurt us and it could delay our ability to potentially muster a response and participate in all these conflicts that we aspire to, and I believe it's going to happen very soon. So just stay ready and watch the Middle East. Watch what's going to happen with Gaza, okay? There's going to be more war in the Middle East in places that people aren't even thinking about right now. We're going to see spillover into Egypt, into Turkey, who is currently putting missiles, air defense missiles on their borders. This is going to spill over into Azerbaijan in the Caspian Sea. This war is going to spread across the Persian Gulf, into the Gulf states, into Saudi Arabia. The whole region is a powder keg, and it's about to get lit up, and that means the price of everything is going to explode beyond what it is right now. So, by all means, prepare. Thanks for watching. Good luck to you and your family. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and go and check out the Canadian Prepper main channel if you want actionable information about how to prepare for what is coming, which is more important, quite frankly, than just listening to the bad news reports every day. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.